Why do you even have the stupid microphone then?
It's decoration, I guess, at this point, but only because it's not working. I'm using a different microphone. Um,
Well, okay. Why can't I use
but
a
you can
different
you
microphone?
you don't have a different microphone.
Doesn't the computer have one?
That's a bad microphone. Don't use that microphone.
Well, I could use it then, is what you're saying.
Yes, you could use it, and it would sound bad.
Well, kind of like you're booming into my ears through this microphone.
Okay, well, I apologize.
No, you don't.
I don't. Um,
I
if it
noticed that
sounds
you
bad, I
pressed.
hope it's just our theology. Yeah, they pulled a sneaky.
Yeah, you really did. I gotta shut my door, so just hold on a minute.
Uh,
Give me a moment.
okay. Technology capture you. Talking to me across the internet.
Apologize.
We live far apart from one another, and I really sometimes wonder how it is you can be a functioning adult. And
That is
I
so loud.
am truly sorry that I ever questioned that, and I'm so loud.
Is
That I
there
was
any?
apologizing the whole time.
No, I understand. I don't know what you're
Yeah,
apologizing for.
just everything.
Oh, well, as you should. Is there any way you could turn that down? I'm gonna be deaf after this.
You could turn the volume down on your own computer.
It won't let me do it.
I
I'm
don't think
serious.
that's true.
Oh wait, there it goes.
Oh, hey.
I was before I was
How many
pressing.
seasons is this that we have managed to record a podcast despite this technological proficiency?
I kept pressing the mute button. It just kept. It's funny.
Hey,
This is a
kids.
different computer.
Yep.
Still didn't work. Okay. All right. What are we talking about today? Huh?
Wait, so I'm still booming in your ear?
You really are.
Oh no.
I got. Talk.
Okay.
I got
About
you. I got you down to 0, and it's still booming in my ear. It doesn't matter. I'll go deaf. Go ahead. What are we talking about? Are we at 2 Corinthians 5?
it's the Garden of Gethsemane in the Gospel of Mark, the 14th chapter, beginning
Oh.
at verse 32. At least you won't fall asleep.
I feel as if we've done this already.
We tried to last time and it kept crashing, which is apparently my fault. So I'm going to take a look at that.
That is so crazy. It should be
I mean,
mine.
considering how this tends to go most of the time, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I know. It should all be my fault.
you just
All right. So what do we got? Mark
you
14?
14:32. Why don't
30?
you read it so I don't boom your ears off?
No, I don't read.
Don't or can't.
Both.
Okay. Um,
And won't.
Good maybe, but short. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he, being Jesus, said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch." And going a little farther, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, and yet not what I will, but what you will." And he came and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the very same words. And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough, the hour is come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." And immediately while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away under guard." And when he came, he went up to him at once and said, "Rabbi," and kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. And Jesus said to him, Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temple, teaching, and you did not seize me. But let the scripture be fulfilled. And they all left him and fled. And a young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth about his body. And they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. It's
So,
interesting.
which part?
No, just the fact that it usually doesn't line up like this, right? We get to we're talking about this. What, two
Uh,
weeks? 2 weeks before Holy Week, um, and everybody's going to listen to it probably around
6 months from now.
November November 12th.
Yeah, we should be more diligent about our recording. Um,
We really should. More timely, more consistent, but then it wouldn't be us.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So you read a lot. We're probably going to get through all of that, hopefully.
I did it boldly so that we would actually get through it all.
Well, we don't have to.
I read it.
It's like Bible studies, right? We read chapter 1 and you get through like 6.5 verses. That's what I do, anyways. So I guess we're gonna break through this like three different sections, like the subheadings have in our Bibles, right?
Uh,
Probably be the easiest way to go. All right, so Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. What do we take with that? I mean, there's a lot there, but
yeah, there is. I think even just the fact that Jesus, who has no sin, prays thus in the Garden of Gethsemane, it gives me a great bit of comfort for sort of struggling with the whole thing too. He who has no sin actually prays, Father, if it be your will, let this not hurt. Let there be another way. Take this cup from my hand. um this understanding of not only sort of life as a good thing, and the idea of a faithful life is not just sort of how quick can I get me to heaven, but rather I don't want to hurt and I don't want to suffer, and I would rather there not be a life that is full of those things. If it is your will, do what is good, but if he's bothered by it, I guess that means that I have a place to take all the places where I'm bothered, where I'm afraid.
yeah, I mean, no, that's certainly a good place where we can take this, and we do see often Christ throughout his earthly life goes away to pray, right?
Mhm.
This I think not only does this show his true humanity, which I think is kind of where we're going to land mostly on this, but I think there's probably something about an interesting way in which this is continuing on that divine conversation, right?
Sure.
Where you get to see that continuously in the Old Testament, where there's this heavenly conversation amongst the Trinity here, and so that never stops. But from the temporal, earthly, human perspective, we've got Jesus who constantly goes away to pray. We don't really know any other time, other than this, the specificities of his prayer. I mean, John will explain a little bit where he's got the high priestly prayer and whatnot, but I'm talking about, like, after the feeding of the 5,000, he goes away to pray. But we don't know the specifics on that, right? But here we do get to see Jesus in his full humanity, with also the understanding of his divine foreknowledge of and omniscience of everything that is going to be laid out, and it is something that drives him to complete and utter sorrow. I would venture to say, terrifies him. I don't know if I want to say that, right?
Why
Um,
not?
I don't know. Maybe it does. But
Why
what is
wouldn't
it?
it?
What? Well, because you should fear, love, and trust in God and God
God
alone.
above all things. It
God above.
doesn't say that, yeah, that it's the above all things, though. There are other things that I love. I just ought not love them more than God. In the same way, he's terrified of this, but still prays, but your will be done.
No, you're probably right. Right. I mean, I'm just thinking of Jesus as a toddler. Right. When there was a thunderstorm, he probably ran to his mom because he was scared of the thunder. Right. Why wouldn't he? Otherwise, we're,
Right.
we're, we're taking away his humanity. Okay, that makes sense.
Well,
Um,
and the gift of vocation is that you can find God working behind those people that he has given in your life. It's
right.
the masks of God that Luther talks about that worked. through his own mom.
Right. Um, so what is it that if we're going to go along this line, what is it that he's terrified of?
The owies,
What type of the
the the,
owies?
the cross-shaped ones. Um, no, I
Uh
mean he knows that which is to come, and he actually knows not only sort of the physical experience of it, but he knows he has to know the spiritual significance of the wrath of God that he's going to experience as well. It's not just the nails or the asphyxiation. He will be abandoned by his father.
right. Right. And I guess it's I don't know. I think there's probably two ways we can talk about it, and maybe they're both correct, and this kind of speaks to the two natures of Christ in regard to this, right? The human nature of anybody who knows that he's going to have nails and spears and whips and crowns of thorns. Uh, that is going to be excruciating. No one is looking forward to that,
Mhm.
and certainly there's got to
I don't
be
like jumping in a pool that's cold. So yeah.
right, right. So certainly there is this. Hey, if there's any other way, than crucifixion. Can we go about that? Um, but then even on a greater level than that, right? This isn't just a normal. I hate to say normal man because he is a normal man, but he's not a normal man. But nonetheless, it's not just this individual fearing the atrocities of Roman crucifixion. Um, but I think the fuller context would be, yeah, there's going to be a point in time in which the father has to and absolutely will abandon me. He will treat me like Paul says, right, as one who knew no sin to be sin. The fullness of the wrath has to be poured out on me. That's the cup.
Mhm.
That's I think that's the
Yeah.
full cup that he's speaking about here.
Yeah.
Not
100%.
and yeah, I mean maybe the crucifixion itself is a thimble that sits next to the cup, but the
Well,
fullness of that cup is going to be the wrath of God being poured out on him and the abandonment. In the same way, I think that's how we would talk about hell, right? And I don't want to get down a rabbit hole, but right. Modern day we think of, and Dante helps us with this, and this is
mhm.
how you see it in every other thing, that we just think of physical torment and pain and torture and fire and brimstone as hell, and forget the fact that's the place, if you can speak about it in such a way, where God has removed himself, which is
Right.
which is far worse, infinitely worse, than whatever pitchfork might do to me.
Sure, but at the same time, we don't want to become Gnostics about the suffering here. It's one of those things you can recognize simply even in that the physical pain. If you've met somebody who genuinely wrestles with chronic pain, not like I stubbed my toe and it hurt real bad for a minute, but like chronic pain of you're just going to wake up and hurt some days, even most days. There's a spiritual component to that. And the gift of Dante, even if you're right, it's not scripture, is that he very much was not a Gnostic in that he wanted to sort of make sure that this understanding of being separated from God was incarnate in nature. That to hurt spiritually will bring a physical pain, and to hurt physically will bring a spiritual pain, because it's not that you have a body and you have a soul; it's that you are a body and you are a soul. And so, as Christ then is suffering upon the cross, it's not just like there's the little owies of the nails and the spears and the whips and the cross and the can't breathies, and then the big owie of the abandonment by the Father, but rather he is abandoned by his father to such a degree that he can't actually be strolling through a meadow for it. It's impossible. Like hell
Okay.
cannot exist in such a way. So this is where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth, but the worm cannot die and the fire is not quenched. It's also where we sort of get to wrestle with some of the old higher critics who sort of say, hell is a modern invention. In the Old Testament, they just had Sheol, and it wasn't until they came up with Gehenna in the Greek, which was really just sort of talking about the refuse dump outside of town. They didn't actually mean like hell. Hell, Dante came up with hell, and ever since then we've just sort of played this up mostly because of cartoons. But rather, if you are a body and you are a soul and you are a mind, he will mentally be in anguish. You see this as he prays in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he will physically hurt because spiritually he will be suffering. Um,
Yeah, in that way, then I think apart from, and we probably spoke about this at some point in one of the seasons when we were talking about the descent into hell, um, right? That right there isn't part of his
there's
humiliation,
no
right?
owies. Yeah, that's
Right.
the exaltation.
That's the exaltation, and yet, probably rightly so, and I'm sure we can speak about it in such a way. Um, Christ experienced hell on the cross,
Right.
the fullness of it.
Right. Well, hell isn't actually hell for him at this point in time, but this is where Luther starts to preach the descent into hell as the victory march, that he kicks the doors in and they don't shut anymore the right way. And the only way you can lock it is from the inside, is where we ultimately land with our understanding of what this is now. That when Christ descends into hell, you're right, it's not to suffer, but it's to proclaim a victory, because even here he is there at the will of his Father to proclaim a victory that cannot be snatched away.
Right. That he's already won fully on the cross. When he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? It is
Mhm.
finished." That is the fullness of drinking the cup,
Right.
and it's
Which
the
means
only
if
way that can
he's
be done.
right, which means if he's descended into hell, wherever he is, it's sort of not hell at that moment for all who would trust in him. Which means at hell in this day, like on fire cave or not, if Christ is there, it's not hell. But for you to escape Christ and lock yourself in a room with a fiery cave, well, why would you be anywhere else if you want to be not near Christ who gives good gifts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a very intentional thing then to be in hell at this point.
Right.
It is literally to crawl over the dead body of Jesus, lock yourself in there where it hurts, and say, "Let me suffer rather than be saved."
Right.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah. That's a delightful rabbit hole.
Well, no, but this is essentially what he's doing for us now, because this is what the Garden of Gethsemane is. He's crawling away from any sort of salvation for himself,
Right.
and locking himself into this room and saying, like, of course, if there is another way besides this, I would choose that thing, but let it be your will that is done.
Yeah. Um. No, that's good stuff. Anything else on that? I wanted to ask what the temptation Jesus was referring to for Peter, right? Watch and pray so that you do not be and that you do not enter in temptation. What's the temptation?
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. I mean, I think you see it in both sides here, because they do. It's both sloth and zeal. It's apathy and overreaction. So you have Peter from 1 minute cannot stay awake for this thing. Even though Jesus is like, we're gonna go out here, they're gonna come get me, I'm gonna go die. And Peter's like, yeah, never gonna leave you, but nappy time. Um, but also then as soon as the soldiers come up, like, and Jesus is going willingly, like he's out there cutting ears for the Lord. um and like in both cases, the temptation is both. It is sloth and zeal, but both misdirected.
Yeah.
Because the falling asleep is hopelessness. I really got to believe it's not just they ate too much bread at Passover, and now they got the carb belly, but like it is this despair that takes over where you just don't want to do anything but sleep. It might be depression.
Okay. Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, I've oftentimes pondered what it is that is causing them to just fall asleep so readily, um, and it very well not be willingly, may not be willingly, um, and that always bugged me. I like the way that you kind of put that out there. That this isn't just after dinner nap time, or
I
or
think
it's
this is,
or it's really late and it's past my
yeah, no,
bedtime.
I think this is panic attack, physical shutdown. That the sort of, or the hopelessness that just wants to lay there.
Yeah. Hmm. That makes it worse.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Because that's the problem with it, that kind of depression. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. Like it's not like you're choosing this. It's here, and you can't sort of escape leaning further into it.
Yeah. Wow. Such a such a happy thing that we're going over here.
I'm helping you for the sermons later
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then the other temptation though is like, well, now I messed. Surely we can fix it. Surely if we're just angry enough about the problem, it will go away.
Well, yeah, and it's still this denial of Christ being the Christ, right?
Yeah,
Even though Jesus said it multiple times,
both of
um,
them are. Yeah.
right? And yeah, and what's interesting is Peter's I mean, right before this, we've got Jesus foretelling Jesus. Sorry, Peter's denial, right?
Hmm.
I'm curious. I'm curious if there is something there, um, even in an afterthought of Peter saying, "No, no, no, I'm not going to deny you." See, right here, we're going to make
It's
sure
go
this
time.
doesn't. We're going
Yeah.
to make sure this doesn't happen. Yeah,
Right. How many times did he fall asleep too? Which is weird because
it
it's
seems like
three.
two or three, right? Yeah,
It's three times.
is it
I'm gonna
three?
call those three little denials right here. Maybe just a foreshadowing bit. Um,
Maybe,
which I'm okay with, because of the way that Jesus confronts it each time. He never sort of says, "Well, you tried your best," or "You sure had the best of intentions here, guys." He calls it for what it is, and then he points them back towards the will of the Lord.
right?
Be too depressed to lift up your eyes, or too mad to see anything but red. Like he'll say, "Still your sword. Let let God do His promises." If you cannot be awake, watch with me, but at the same time, know what's coming. The Lord will fulfill His promises.
Yeah, nice. All right. So now what? Now where are we going?
What do you want to talk about? Do you see anything here?
No,
No.
no, not a thing.
You just want to talk about naked Mark? You want to talk about the
No,
betrayal?
we haven't talked about the betrayal yet.
Okay, I was
Okay.
asking. Allegedly naked Mark. Allegedly.
Allegedly. You know, I can't. I just noticed I can't hear myself into my headphones. Am I
Hmm.
supposed to be able to?
I don't know. When you read, do you imagine it happening, or do you just see words? Like,
Uh,
do you have your own like private little cinema?
I don't know. No, no. If I'm being read to, I do.
Okay.
I think I just see
Huh.
words. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a weird question.
Oh, I'm a weird dude. Um, Talk to me about the betrayal.
I don't know. What do we got here? I
It was
mean,
a
we already kind
kiss.
of. Yeah. All right. So, what do you want to say about that?
I want you to say stuff.
I don't know if I have much to say about that.
Really? You can make me carry this one?
Yeah, you are. Well, why does he? Why? That's an interesting thing. Why does Judas actually have to do this? Why does he set it up in this way? I mean, other than it being the marker, but I mean, like Jesus says as much, right, to them.
Mhm.
Like, why have you come with swords and clubs? Like, I've been in the temple all the time, right? And I don't know, maybe they didn't have, the wanted posters around, so maybe they never, you know, Rick the soldier never actually had the opportunity to see Jesus and didn't know what
Mhm.
Jesus looked like. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Maybe. I um I have a theory, but I think you disagree with it because I
Good.
take sort of that Judas on the best of intentions getting overwhelmed kind of story.
Oh,
I know. So for me, I actually don't think that Judas was a supervillain who simply wanted to, like get money, do drugs. I think that he had seen Jesus escape far worse. That he who was in charge of the money bag needed to see this ministry kept forward and saw it a potential to fund it at the hands of the enemy. So two things happen here that make me think about this, and that's that he calls him Rabbi instead of Lord. And whenever somebody calls Jesus Rabbi, it's never a good thing. It's always somebody who does not see who he really is yet.
okay.
You're a teacher, but you're not God. And the kiss is a kiss of peace. And so I wonder, I don't know, but I wonder, and Litau disagrees with me, if Judas thinks that he is a teacher, a prophet, a miracle worker, but not God, who is going to keep this ministry going. And so even though this is happening, he doesn't see him as God, so he can't see the crucifixion as a good thing yet because God has willed it. But he does want to convey peace. This is not an abandonment. This is not a betrayal in this sense. of intent, even if it is one of action. But sort of to say, I'll see you on the other side of this.
Man, that is putting the best construction on this.
I'm trying so hard. This is like the only place where I'm good at the eighth commandment too. Uh,
Judas, I got you, man. Listen, I don't think he's a supervillain either. I really don't.
okay.
Um, and I don't. I mean, there's something to be said about perhaps about I don't know, maybe him thinking that Jesus is going to get out of this one. But there's something different about all of this, right? I mean, never before did you have the. I mean, apart from when he was an infant and you had these murderous plots of Herod, but I mean, you never had these murderous plots actually coming to fruition. You had a bunch of guys who got really angry after Jesus said something in a synagogue, and they got stones, and they wanted to do this, but you never had people actually kind of setting up. Okay, this is how we're going to trap him. This is what we're. I don't
They've been
know.
trying to trap him his whole ministry with words, and like I don't know, like if a whole crowd picked up rocks to kill me, I would say like no, like show me when you're really gonna when you're serious about it.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I have a tough time getting to the point where we've got Judas here who's actually saying, no, I'm gonna play these Pharisees and scribes for fools. That's what I'm gonna do, and I'm also gonna get a little bit of money in return.
Which is still bad.
Well, yeah, but that's still. I mean, that seems to be a little bit past the reading that we've got. Um,
Okay,
and,
help me then.
well, I don't know because again, I'm not convinced that he's this individual that has been completely and utterly against Jesus the whole way. I don't think that's it. I think we've got a fallen Judas who may have some more temporally egregious sins along the way. What is the vice president of the Rocky Mountain District one about? I just sorry.
That was a good name drop.
I didn't drop Jared Mealy's name. So, but you got Judas in this situation. I don't think he's just trying to take the Pharisees for all it's worth. My guess is I think, and maybe I am still putting the best construction on this, or my best construction because I'm not as magnanimous as you. Is is you've got Judas who has um, he's misguided.
Mhm.
He misunderstands everything. Um, and maybe he's at the end of his rope. Um, and
That's a way of phrasing it.
yeah, you like that? And maybe and maybe it's a I don't know, maybe it's a put up or shut up moment. Um, type thing that he's seen. Or maybe he's just so frustrated after all of this of saying, Jesus, if you are the Messiah, then be the Messiah that we know you are, right? And now's the time for you to do it. And if you're not, then I'm going to get mine and I'm going to get out of here. Because I mean, we do have things of right, and I don't
Yeah,
know
no,
if Mark put that there, but we do have other gospel writers who will speak about right after the Lord's Supper, right? The Holy Spirit. Now, sorry, the devil, the devil
yeah,
enters in. The devil enters into Judas, right?
sure.
So yes, we could say, okay, the devil is maybe guiding him to do misguided things that will inevitably end up with an actual betrayal.
Mhm.
It seems more sinister than that. It seems like the gospel writers want to play it out more than, oh, Judas just didn't know the actual consequences of what he was doing, and once he
Maybe.
realized, then he's like,
Like
oh,
I can get along with this. I can, but I also will say that the devil doesn't really need to put evil into my heart. That's already there. What he loves to do is stir up hopelessness, though, and false confidence too, and self justification.
sure,
That's where the devil enters into to make you double down on the evil that's already there.
right. Yeah.
Right?
And that's what we confess in our catechism, right? The
Sure.
Lord's one speaks about lead us not into temptation, sort of thing. Um,
Also, when you said, why is the vice president, you paused just a little bit of the Rocky Mountain District. There was a pause where it's
yeah.
just enough for everybody to hope for uh, JD Vance. See, we can now put in the correct one for all times, and then be really
Not
disappointed that it
Kamala
was.
Harris.
Whoa, yeah, that it was in fact of the
I was
Rocky
just
Mountain
talking about
District.
the time thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nothing
Like if they were
political.
to travel back in time to listen to this podcast.
I don't know. How do they know that we're not? Well, because we said, but maybe we were recording this in November 1st, 2024.
How delayed is our production schedule?
A
This
year
is the
now.
question.
So
Uh,
you like this being a kiss of peace? Uh,
I do. What kind of kiss is it for you?
well, I mean, I think traditionally it's always been understood as a kiss of betrayal, although there isn't something, I don't think you ever see anything scripturally speaking of the kiss of betrayal, which very well then might be um, the the whole reason why this takes on such a deeper meaning. And so I'll go ahead and stick with you and say that okay, maybe this was it was supposed to be seen as the kiss of peace. I'm not going to put in the same camp
Intention,
as you as
right?
saying that was Judas's intention of it being a
So
kiss of
yeah,
peace. It was
my
just like
whole point
oh,
though.
well, hold on. So my whole thing would be that yeah, with me going up and giving Jesus a kiss on the cheek, that's not a weird thing, right? For them,
Looked weird. Yeah. Okay.
but for them, I don't think
Yeah.
it did, right?
Okay.
I don't think it did. That wasn't an odd thing, right? That'd be
Right.
like
Okay.
when we see each other, we give each other high fives. Hey, how you
Hmm.
doing? Right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it was an outside of the norm sort of thing.
Don't kiss me next time I see you. Um,
No.
No, and my point though with Judas though is whether or not his intentions were good or bad. The whole point of this is that sin breaks stuff regardless of what you intend. Like if you have the best of intentions, sin still breaks stuff. Don't sin. And if you have the worst of intentions, sin still breaks stuff. Don't sin. However you sort of want to paint Judas, either as the supervillain or the overwhelmed or somewhere in between,
Right.
you still have the same results because sort of your intentions don't dictate good and evil, but actually the law does that.
Right. Right. And I think far too often we will put Judas in that worst of sinners box. Uh, I'm not willing to go there, right? For the very
Right.
fact, and I think we probably talked about this the last time we recorded, which was like 8 months ago, that during the Lord's Supper when Jesus says one of you is going to betray me, I can't remember if Mark actually says this, uh, um, but all the disciples kind of look around at each other and like, is it is it me?
Nose goes.
Right. Like, Lord, is it me? Like, I don't know. Right. Which I
Yeah.
think kind of plays into that. But, anyways. All right. So now you got swords and clubs and ears getting cut off. Lots of Picassos going on here. No, it
Hmm.
wasn't Picasso. Who was it? It wasn't Picasso. Who was it?
It's Picasso.
Picasso didn't cut off his own ear. Who was it?
Picasso.
No, it wasn't Picasso. Who was it?
It's
It wasn't Picasso.
Who was it?
I don't think it was Picasso. Shoot.
I'm gonna
You,
Google it while you talk to me about the guy
No,
who ran
I'm
up
going to
naked.
Google it. Well, you talked about the guy naked. I'm Googling it right now. Talk about the guy naked. Who's running away
I,
naked?
yeah, I most people actually do believe that this is Mark inserting himself into his own gospel. It's that not only was he there to witness the event, um,
Van Gogh. It was Van Gogh. I'm mad about both of us not knowing that.
yeah, we
All right.
probably did everything else that we said about Jesus was probably right though. Okay, kids
Sure.
and Rick
And Phil Collins.
and Phil Collins.
Yeah.
No, I think the guy who runs away is Mark. I think this is where you actually see the author in his own book, and willing to sort of be really vulnerable about it. Because like you didn't need to say this, you just said that. Like that's one of those things where you could have just let that go.
Yeah.
You didn't though.
Right. Yeah. And again, put it in there maybe for two different things. Like, I, I was a witness. I saw this stuff happen. I wasn't an apostle, but I was there, and
It
I think
wasn't a great day for me, but I was
right,
there.
right, I was there, right. And I think there's some commentators who will then go so far to say that perhaps how did he know that they were there? He must have followed them. How did he follow them? There's a very good chance that maybe they were actually having this supper at his house, right?
Mm,
Um, who is Lenski will make this argument kind of back. I haven't read the Mark commentary, but in his Acts commentary, there's a section in I think it's Acts 8 where Peter's arrested and then he gets freed, right? And
okay.
then he goes to a house, and you find out that he goes to the house of John Mark's mother. Right? That's just where he goes. And
Mm.
so he works backwards, I think, from that, and then he says, like, why was that the place? Because it was the place. That's where the
He had a
apostles always
foosball
went.
table in the basement, and so
Right.
everybody wanted to hang out there.
That's where everybody went when they stayed in Jerusalem. So if that's the case, then maybe that's how Mark knew. If this is Mark, maybe it's Rick. I don't know.
Or Rick. He's
What?
doing better than not Picasso, at least, I guess.
Right, right. He is. He's naked. At least he's got both of his ears, though.
Yeah. On that cheerful note, we out.
Uh,
Disappointment sigh.